Dionisio at the plate. He's 0 for 2 today. Swakowski, the big right-hander, lets it go. It's right down Broadway. Dionisio lets it fly, and it's raining now.
It's time for Rain Delay Theater with Jeremy Dionisio and Jack Swakowski.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Rain Delay Theater, the podcast where two bums talk about other bums at baseball games. I'm Jack Swakowski.
And I'm Jeremy Dionisio.
And we are back on the South Side this week, recapping the Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026 game between the Cleveland Guardians and the Chicago White Sox at Wright Field. Jeremy, we're doing good with games this year. I almost feel like we've gone to more Sox games already in June than we did all of last year. It's a vibe. It's a whole vibe at Wright Field these days. We didn't get Gates this time, or at least I didn't get there at Gates, but you arrived there before I did, and you actually got some autographs. We can get into that a little bit later. We should also say it was Polish Heritage Night, and Jeremy, both you and I have some Polish blood in us.
That is correct. Yeah. So, we didn't plan it out this way. I think we've been to Polish Heritage Night before.
We have. I actually think we went to both. We went to one game that was Polish Heritage Night and also Disco Demolition Night. And so, as they were celebrating Disco Demolition Night, you had these like traditional Polish dancers in full garb on the field doing a Polish dance. So it was all very White Sox. But yeah, definitely not our first one of these for sure.
No, not for sure not. And they did have the traditional Polish dancers on the field again this game. But one thing that stood out to me while I was down by the on deck circle trying to get autographs, they had like a Polish parade around the warning track, and it was led by like a throwback like cop car basically. I don't really know. I don't know if I missed the explanation or there was no explanation. More likely it was the latter. But a police car went around with the siren on and like the light, the like Mars lights going, and then just like a huge parade of people behind them. So that was funny. But like, luckily the graphing was kind of done at that point. They didn't. I was like the only one down there, which is odd. I don't know. Like, I don't know how this happened. Like, I don't know if Dennis got word out or something to like the other graphers, like abort or something. Like, I don't think there was BP going on because there wasn't much on the field when I got there. But like, the parade would have definitely messed that deal up. And like some guys, like they saw the cars were coming. They was going, extremely slow. But like the guys, there were the whole warning track behind home plate was like filled with people like it normally is, and like they looked in the distance, they're like, oh, okay, we better move out. And so like there were some like Guardians like coaches and training staff like out talking, and they had to like go in the dugout to talk and stuff. So it was kind of funny, but and it was funny being that close to it as it went by. So I actually got some video of it, which is funny. But yeah, so Polish Heritage Night. I did get down there. Maybe 20 minutes after gates open, something like that. 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And there was no one out there. That they were already like kind of grooming the field. So I feel like there just wasn't any sort of BP or anything. But I brought my Guardians cards, but I didn't really have time to make my book, so I just had a stack of them. And I walked down there, and there was a guy on the field. I think it was a guy in a warm up kind of shirt thing, and it had like the number on the side. I think it was Eric Sabrowski. So I was like trying, maybe he was getting in on the Polish Heritage festivities.
Yeah, right.
But he was like out there, and I was trying to like find his card, but I didn't want to call him before I had him. And so I kind of got in position. I was fumbling through the card, and I think he kind of like slipped past me into the dugout. But I look up, and Jason Kipnis is standing right there. And so like I brought him just in the off chance that he was there. I didn't bring the cards that I want like most wanted him to sign. I kind of keep those in my Cubs book. But I had like a couple Indians cards. He's like talking to like this like old guy in the stands. Like there was a guy next to him who might have been like related to the old guy, but this old guy was just kind of going on about the White Sox, and like I heard Kipnis saying like, well, I think they're set up. I think things are looking up for them. Like I think the Crochet trade was really good, so I think stick with it, and I think they like they might have it's starting to like cash in or whatever. And the guy's like, yeah, I don't know, like they're just bad, like whatever. And like I'm like, I don't know if it was a guy who Kipnis actually knew or just like a random guy who was talking to him. But it was kind of bizarre, and I was standing there just like being chill and like waiting for Kipnis to be done. And so I saw Joey Cantillo come into the dugout, and I started fishing for his card, and I think like my motion kind of got Kipnis's attention, and then he saw, I think, that I wanted his autograph. So I looked up, and he was looking at me, and he's kind of pointing at me like, and I'm like, yeah, Jason, yeah, if you got time, I'd love like an autograph. And so I got him to sign a card, and I told him, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but I don't know, I just liked Kipnis for some reason, maybe because he was from like the Chicagoland area, but I always liked him as a player, had him on my fantasy team. And so several years ago, when LeBron in Cleveland, they had like this like ad campaign, like "We Are All Witnesses" to LeBron James' greatness. The Guardians started like a counter campaign called "We Are All Kipnises," and just brilliant. I love the wordplay. Very cool. And so they made a T-shirt of it, and I got the T-shirt, and I wore the hell out of it. I used to wear it all the time, and it's just gotten too ratty to really wear outside much. But I had that, and so I told him, I'm like, hey, Jason, I just want to say, like, I got you at a private signing, and I had you do "We Are All Kipnises," and he kind of like laughed at that. He liked that, and I told him like, yeah, man, nice. I got the shirt and everything, and he's like, oh, that's great, man. I love to hear that. I love to hear the fans like enjoying that or whatever. So, and he gave me like a fist bump. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. Like it was a good moment with Kipnis, and like I'm sure, like, yeah, I doubt he was hounded that day for autographs. So yeah, it was kind of cool to like get that interaction.
That's great, Jeremy. And it's funny because we like 3 days before that we had waited outside of we were waiting at Wrigley Field for him to come out of the stadium for like a half hour, and then it turned out he wasn't even doing the post game show because he's been working for Marquee. He wasn't doing it that night, so we our big plan to get him that night fell through, and then a couple days later at the White Sox game, to quote one of our good grapher friends, you sort of just fell ass backwards into him, Yeah. So that's that was good fortune. I guess it was meant to be.
Yeah, I suppose so. The good news, Jack, I know you weren't able to get him. You weren't there in time, but I still need him on these Cubs cards. So I'm still up for chasing after him again. But
yeah, sure.
But yeah, very cool to knock him out. And like I guess I'm glad like that it wasn't like a weird Sutcliffe situation where I caught him on like the dark side street at night at like at 11 o'clock at night. So that was good ultimately. I did end up getting Joey Cantillo, and he had a funny interaction. There was one other kid down there who made his way down there, and he was wearing a White Sox jersey, and he asked for Cantillo's autograph, and Cantillo said like, "Hey, you're wearing White Sox gear, bro." And he's like, "Yeah, man, but I'm a collector. I have over like 3,500 autographs." And then he goes like, "What are you gonna do? Sell it?" And he's like, "No. I think that's when he said I got 3,500 autographs or whatever." Jeez. And so it was like, man, Joey Cantillo is really like riding this guy, and there's only two of us down here. It's like you figure just sign for the guy and move on, or don't sign for him and don't give him a hard time. But yeah, I don't know. And he didn't seem like as any athlete, as most athletes. He was maybe he was trying to be funny, but it wasn't coming across like that way. Like,
sure,
it was a little too like humorless to be read as a joke.
No, hey man, when the first time I asked Mike Fetters for his autograph, and when he came over and signed, I said, "Hey Mike, do you got time for one?" And he said, "No," and then he laughed and came over. So that's just maybe just ball player humor too.
Yeah,
he thought
exactly.
that was very clever. One cool thing. This is the second. We've been really hitting up a lot of games on Tuesdays, which isn't which has been pretty unusual for us historically in this podcast. Yeah. We're actually going to another Tuesday game this week. But it was Tuesdays at White Sox is $5 night most of the time. So I think it's hot dogs, Polish sausage, maybe brats are all $5. Bottled soda is
Yeah,
$5.
pizza.
Pizza's
And
$5.
beer, too.
And beer, yeah, you get a Miller Lite, I think, for $5. So that's a good deal for a Tuesday night. Not bad. So I didn't have any food on this night, Jeremy, but you partook of a couple of Polish dogs, actually.
yeah, just in the spirit of Polish Heritage Night, I guess, and you know, the cost effectiveness. I got one Polish and I crushed it. And it was pretty good. I wasn't quite sure what to get, and I was leaning towards maybe doing something else, but then like when I realized it was $5 night, I'm like, yeah, Polish automatic. And then like it was so good, and I honestly, Jack, I jumped on it before I could like get full. I'm like, if I wait any longer, I'll probably be full. So let me just get another one.
Yeah, sure.
And so I think it was like I sat down, got the Polish. Actually, I had it, and you were kind of like you were out, you know, running, making rounds, and I sat down, I started eating it, and then like you were probably sat down for like 2 minutes, and I got up. I'm like, I'm gonna get another one. Just re-upped basically.
Yeah, well, it's always a good moment to realize, you know, as an adult, you can do things like that. You know, I think it's maybe the Homer Simpson quote, like, my only regret was I didn't get two. I can't remember where that's from, but you did it, so that was good. And I actually think last game, too, you got a Miller Lite for $5. So, you know, you've been taking advantage of this $5 stuff. So that was fun. And then, you know, the game was about to start, so, you know, we didn't get there as early as we usually did, so it felt like there was less time before the game started, and the stadium really started to fill in. We got bounced from our seats twice. So of course, once again, we had 500 level seats, sat in the 100 section like we always do. But we've never been kicked out of our not seats that many times.
No, we should just say, like, this maybe goes without saying. Listeners hopefully can infer this, but like, we haven't sat in our like ticketed seat in, I mean, maybe like 10 years.
Yeah, it's at least before the pandemic, and never in the history of this podcast, I don't think.
Correct. Yeah, so that's at least 8 years.
Yep.
Like, I've gone to a couple Cubs Sox games, and I've sat in my ticketed seat. I think we went once. This is pre-podcast, but we went to I think it was pre-podcast. Dodgers, White Sox when Kershaw was pitching, and I think we sat in our ticketed seats. That might have been the last time, to be honest.
And I remember that game too, Jeremy. That was a very crowded game. I think it was 2017. I want to say
that sounds right. Yeah.
So it's about 9 years, and then this podcast started in 2018. And for White Sox games, we've never sat in our ticketed seat. I do think that, you know, if the Sox continue to be over 500 and they stay in the playoff hunt, I suspect that if we go to some games in August and September, we'll end up in the upper deck, which will be its own thing, because the upper deck is its own experience at White Sox games. But it's never happened, and the streak did not break this time either.
Well, we should see, Jack. I will say, like, there was a time, maybe Sox fans are like more hungry now, but I do remember going the last week of the season in a playoff hunt, and the stadium was half full, which was a bummer.
Okay.
But maybe they're different. Maybe it's a different generation this time around. We'll see. But yeah. Like, I don't know. It's a rarity for sure. But the upper deck, it is pretty cool. So the irony of getting bounced twice, and then I think pretty much like our move is that we end up moving closer when we get bounced. So, and it's not even like a power move necessarily. It's just like we already pick kind of like the furthest back row, so there's not really much where else to go other than closer and further down. So
no, and we actually made it a point to sit further down the right field line this time. We do have a section we always go in that we swear must be a guest recovery section, where they put people who had complaints or about their tickets or whatever it is. And we've gone in that section. That section is almost right behind home plate. We've never been kicked out of there, no matter where we've sat. So we suspect that that's not a ticketed section, but we didn't go in that one. And so we actually flew further away from the sun, and we ended up getting kicked out of a couple of seats. So eventually we found somewhere to sit, and those were pretty good seats.
Yeah, and we stuck eventually. So
we did.
That was nice. The game was zooming by. The first hit was not until the top of the third. I'm not even sure if there was a base runner before that.
There was not, and the White Sox actually did not get their first hit until the bottom of the fourth inning. The overall score of this game was 2-1. Very few pitching changes. So Parker Messick, who started for the Guardians, almost pitched a complete game. He pitched 7 2/3 innings. Sean Burke pitched 6 1/3 innings, and only one reliever was used for each team. So it was as Scott Podsednik would say, it was a good crisp ball game. It flew by. And Jeremy, you joked. I think it was like maybe in the top of the third inning. You're like, well, this game will be over by 8:30, and it had started at 6:40. And I think the game ended before 9. It might have ended at like 8:40, and we were actually on our way home before it was even dark outside, fully dark.
Yeah. It was crazy. We got to the train platform, and the sun was still like offsetting in the distance. So, it was definitely a throwback kind of game. So, I've started like a new summer schedule. So I'm working early mornings. Jack always works early mornings, mostly during the week. So I guess in this instance, it was not bad to have like a basically 2-hour game.
No.
So like we said, like the stadium is, we got bounced a couple times. There are more people there. We'll talk about that a little later, but they're still not anywhere near a sellout,
No.
We were sitting in front of these people like at our ultimate location where we ended up. We ended up sitting in front of this group of people who were also like not in their correct seats and got bounced eventually. Yep. I did kind of like have a couple interactions with them, but I heard this woman say to her friend, she's like, it's so nice to see a packed stadium. And I was just like, I just kind of cringed a little bit because I'm like, this is not packed. I mean, it's an improvement, but it's still not packed. And so it was kind of, I don't know if you heard her say that, Jack. But
I did not. But
okay,
that's sad. I guess for a White Sox game, it's packed.
Yeah, it was a little dubious. But that woman would end up like, I started collecting. I don't know why, just because I'm an addict, I guess. But like, I started for some reason inside of like Coca-Cola and Coke Zero 20-ounce bottles. They have like behind the label they have these World Cup stickers, and I started collecting them. I think because I was honestly when I was in Europe a couple weeks ago, they don't really have Diet Pepsi there. It's mostly Coke products. So they had like these. I was drinking Coke Zero and like I was getting these stickers. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll collect these. There's only 12 of them, and so I was like, I took off my label and I was showing you like, oh, this is one, and it was one I needed. And then just out of nowhere, the woman like kind of tapped me on the back. She like, I must have watched that interaction, and she just tapped me and handed me her label. So it was nice, but also it was a double. I did have it already, but it was still nice. And I've kind of considered just going around the stadium and picking up like empty bottles to just try to complete the set. But it was shortly after that, like we probably would have ended up talking to these people, but they got bounced like pretty much right after that.
Yeah, that was a nice gesture. It was actually pretty cool of her to do that. Have you been watching any of the World Cup?
Just a little, just incidentally, if I'm out at a place with it on.
Yeah, so I'd never watched a soccer game at all in my life. I had never watched 5 minutes of one, but I was watching the U.S. game on Thursday night. I think maybe they were playing Turkey, and I was like, I should watch this game, and I probably watched almost an hour of it, and I was like, okay, I can see why people like soccer so much. Like I can kind of understand the strategy of what they're trying to do, or like how they're trying to set up good shots. As a 40-year-old man, though, you feel like kind of an idiot, like not knowing basic stuff about the sport. I was like, well, why isn't 45 minutes just halftime? Why did they take halftime at like 47 or 48 minutes? Like, what are they waiting for, etc.? So yeah, you feel stupid. But then I found out, I looked it up, like 60 minutes into the game. I found out that there was nothing at stake in that game. I was like, well, why the hell am I watching it? The only reason I'm watching this is because I like thought something was at stake, and it turns out it was a meaningless game. And I was like, oh, shit. So yeah, I might watch more. I was kind of intrigued by it, but I don't know.
I do. I think now that they're into like the knockout round or the actual bracket, like there's a little more hanging with each game. But yeah, like I watched a little bit of it. I don't know, like maybe 2 or 3 World Cups ago, and yeah, I don't want to sound like an ignorant American, like because it's like the world sport or whatever. But like, there's too many things about it that just like kind of like don't add up to me. You know, so it's fine. I don't like, you know, I don't care that other people like it or whatever. That's cool. And like, you know, it is cool, like to, you know, have all the, you know, the countries, you know, cheering for their teams and stuff like that. Part of it is cool. So, yeah. And it's just like so many people like get drawn into it. So yeah, it's exciting. And I guess the fact that it's in Chicago, is or not Chicago, but the United States is cool. So so yeah, I'll probably end up catching some too. We'll see who ends up getting you know, into the late stages. See if I have, you know, somewhat of a rooting interest for any of the countries. But
right, yeah,
but yeah,
I don't think you're going to be seeing a Rain Delay Theater go to a soccer game anytime soon.
No, not unless we start that Patreon and really get some funds, because I think those tickets. For the first round, we're like $3,000 maybe. Like
yeah, just for a lark, I looked it up on StubHub, and yeah, it was a couple $1,000s.
Yeah. So, we would definitely need to crowdsource.
Yeah, Christ, we were complaining about having to pay $25 for these White Sox tickets.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So yeah, so we'll watch from afar. But
Jeremy, one cool thing about this game is it gave us another full circle moment as far as players are concerned for Rain Delay Theater. So we saw Khalil Watson in this game. He started in right field for the Guardians, and he actually hit his first career home run in this game. But we had seen Khalil Watson, I think it was during the 2023 season, in A-ball, what was, I think, high A-ball with the Beloit Skycarp. Yeah, and so that was cool. We actually got his autograph as well. I think we got him both before the game and after the game. And so we saw him in A-ball, but he was a former not number 1 overall pick, but I think he was the 16th overall pick, or at least a first-round pick. But at that point, he had already seemed like kind of a draft bust. And in that game, we saw him hit a grand slam in Beloit. And so now, you know, 3+ years later, here he is in the major leagues. I think both of us had completely forgotten all about him. And, you know, here he is again, like Bobby Witt, who we saw play in high school ball. You know, I saw Joe Mack a couple weeks ago. We saw him in that Beloit game. We've seen other guys in the minors. We saw, who's that big, tall pitcher for the Twins? Bailey Ober. But now we saw Khalil Watson. And so that was cool because we'd actually had some interaction with him, too. So it was nice to see him in the majors. Yeah,
it was. I was kind of hoping that there would be a like a Topps Now card of his like first home run, but he had gotten his first like RBI single the night before, so they made a card of that one. So it's too bad. Like I think I got it just for the heck of it, but if you know, they knew he was going to hit a home run the next game, they probably would have waited. But still cool. So yeah, that's good there. He was drafted out of high school, so like I think he was, you know, off to a slow start. But yeah, we'll see how he sticks around. He got off to a little bit of a slow start in the majors, but yeah, I haven't seen what he's done since then. But you know, it seems the way the Guardians' offense has been going, they probably could use him. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so that was cool. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Yes. Jeremy. Well, no, I was gonna say just for the you know, the next stuff. We were I'm trying to remember like the breadth of. Okay, yeah, right. So there was this group in front of us. Yeah, we each had like an interaction with these people in front of us, or not quite an interaction, but like a brush up, I guess. But so there was I think maybe late in the game, or like after the game had started, there was like a couple in front of us, a guy and a girl, and they were sitting directly in front of you, Jack. And then I think maybe a little bit after they showed up, another couple showed up, guy and a girl, and I don't know if they were together. They were talking at some point like they were together, but they arrived separately and they didn't really like make like a big, scene when the other ones showed up. But so maybe they just became friends or something. But I saw them talking. But but yeah, there was the guy from the second group that ended up sitting in front of me. If you recall, years ago, there were these two guys. We ended up dubbing them the Hanson brothers because they kind of looked like the Hanson brothers. They had like long frizzed out hair, and they were directly in front of me, and the hair was just like hanging over the seat into like my lap basically, and I ended up getting like my pencil tangled up in this guy's hair. I don't quite remember what game that was, but it was a rough scene, and like my freaking pencil got got tangled in this guy's hair. I kind of pulled it out, and this guy like looked back at me like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And it was a mess. So there was a guy, and the guy in front of us, like at some point, he took off his like trucker hat, and he just like fucking unfurled his like long, like stringy hair. And it was just gross. And this guy was kind of like, he had like gross like facial hair and stuff, and he had weird rings and tattoos on his hands and stuff. And he was just like, when he first took off his like undid his hair, he was just kind of like brushing it out, and like he was right in front of me. He was like slightly to my left, but still in front of me, and definitely in my sight line. And it was just a gross display, It's like you don't want to see that.
Yeah, it was,
close
man.
to you.
And I mean, like you said, his hair was stringy. It didn't really look the cleanest. And what I said to you was, it's a good thing you ate those Polish dogs earlier, because they might have had some extra garnishments if this guy was like, stringing his hair out right on you. Man, it was nasty. And then he put his hair in a bun, but like it was just, there was like no respect for your personal space, or just the fact that that maybe that's not a great thing to do when you're crowded in a big group of people. Similar to the guy a couple years ago who just had his shoes off and he had his feet up, and you could see his marijuana socks. It's just, this is stuff you see at a White Sox game. So yeah, that was bad. But then the guy next to me, so you mentioned this other couple, he was sitting directly in front of me. So at one point he's got a beer, and he leans his head all the way back, and he just chugs his beer, but the back of his head was basically in my lap. It was like literally his lap, like the back of his head almost hit my crotch. Like, as like if you can imagine how far people go back when they do the limbo, like that's what happened. Jeremy, I want to harken back to like something that happened a couple podcasts ago, because I feel like I missed an opportunity to say a good line. It's a little blue, but when you were eating the nachos, and it was the first time you got the nachos, and there's a bit of a learning curve when you get these nachos at Wrigley Field, and so you got some cheese on your pants, and you went, fuck, I got some cheese on my dick. And it was a good line, and it's happened to me too. Like, you've gotten cheese on your pants, and I laughed about that, Jeremy, and I kept thinking about that phrase, and then I went to a restaurant and was eating like curly fries with honey mustard, and I got some on my crotch, and then I said the same thing to myself. I was like, fuck, I got honey mustard on my dick. And so it's the same thing, Jeremy. So I understand what happened. But
Nice.
I had missed the opportunity to say that line, and I thought it was funny. So, but yeah, this was a similar situation where the guy just put his head in my lap. Just no awareness for what's going on.
It was very funny to watch from my angle too, because the dude just put his head back, like fucking, he like contorted himself just to get the last fucking driplet out of the fucking can, and it was like, I think it was one of the $5 beers. It's like, dude, it's fine. That's like, that's a fraction of a cent there that you're just trying to get, and you're destroying your neck for. I would be remiss, Jack, to say that the birth of that phrasing of getting stuff on your pants, definitely, you could probably guess, Jack, but it was born between me and my friend Scott.
Okay, who, I like it. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just at some point it kind of it happened organically, and it was just stuck in my in my vocabulary or my you know my toolbox. So
Perfect.
but yeah, just watching this guy just completely like bend backwards with the beer, and like it was just funny. And I think you were kind of trying to just ignore it, but I saw it, and I kind of was like chuckling, and I looked at you, and you were just like shaking your head like, what the fuck?
Yep.
You know.
I'm glad you saw it, Jeremy. Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So one of the last things that happened towards the 8th inning was the White Sox actually did a guess the attendance number. You know, A, B, C, D, and then like, you know, which attendance do you think it is? Turned out it was about 28,000. But also in the history of this podcast since 2018, I don't know that we've seen them do guess the attendance. So this was a new thing, and the fact that they did it for this game shows you that they always could have been doing it, and they just chose not to.
Yeah, 100%. And like, you know, I think maybe they made the decision to start doing it this season because they are anticipating like healthier crowds, which I agree with, and I you know, I support it. I applaud them for doing it, but this game was not quite, you know, much to write home about for attendance wise, like in the grand scheme of things. But it was bizarre to see, and like I'm used to. There's a little section on the scorecard for attendance, and I'm used to just filling it in when I get home and like kind of do the totals on my scorecard. So to actually write it in during the game was you know, surprising.
It was, and you know, good for them for drawing healthier crowds. Yeah, so this one was about 28,700 maybe, if I remember. Wrigley's always about 37 or 38. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they end up at the end of the year. I guess one last thing, it may as well be said, but the White Sox did win this game 2-1. Ended up being a real good game, real close game. But once again, when there were 2 outs, they played the Undertaker's funeral bells. And so I think you got to it first, Jeremy. You got there slightly earlier than I did, but you said, "Dead man walking." We got that dead man walking. And then I had to say it too. So I think that's just going to be something we have to say, at every White Sox game now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, when if they're in the driver's seat to win the game, that seems like that's going to be, guaranteed. So the way they're playing, we'll see more of that for sure.
Yeah. It was good, Jeremy. This is probably one of our quicker episodes, just because it was one of the quicker games we've been to. I don't remember looking at what the official did. Oh yeah, you said you didn't finish your scorecard yet, but
No.
I didn't write in the official time of this game. It couldn't have been any more than 2 hours. And yeah, we didn't graph either. So it was kind of a nice, quick Tuesday evening at Guaranteed Rate Field.
It's what most like non-baseball fans like dream of when going to a game. 2 hours and 6 minutes. Was the total. So
that's almost unheard of, even in this day and age. We mentioned that we're going to a game this coming week. It's going to be Cubs Padres. It'll be a Tuesday night game once again. And Jeremy, Chicago is in the midst of a horrible heat wave right now. So I'm trying to think how to dress for that game, and also just hoping it's not too hot.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not looking like it's like I could probably rush there to graph. I might end up trying to try to graph a little bit during BP, but I wouldn't be opposed to not doing it just because of like the hustling to get there and the sweat and the inevitable sweating, and then just like, and it's not like it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna cool off as the night gets later. It's just because it's like we're solid 90, high 90s for the whole week. So it's gonna be rough. A friend of mine, actually former guest Ben Perkins, said he had some tickets and he passed on them for tomorrow night just because of the heat. So it's gonna be a heavy lift, but I was gonna say like it could be like a scoring blowout, but the Cubs are actually playing in these same conditions, and it's only a 2-2 game in the bottom of the fifth. So who knows? But it could be when the weather's like this at Wrigley. The scores, they climb high.
Yeah, they do. Well, hey, we've seen worse, Jeremy. You remember when there were all those wildfires and the air was all smoky. So we've seen some things So I think we'll make it through this one. But
Yep.
yeah, I think that's going to do it for this
Yep.
week. So
Yep.
yeah, so for Rain Delay Theater, I'm Jack Swakowski.
And I'm Jeremy Dionisio.
We'll see you next week on the North Side.
Later.